transforming lives.
Ujambo mpenzi mtazamaji popote pale ulipo, na karibu katika makala yetu ya siku ya leo, The Legal Tuesday. Natumai basi Jumanne yako iko nzuri sana. Hapa ni MBCI TV, na kama ilivyo kawaida siku ya leo huwa tunashughulikia masuala ya kisheria, what we call The Legal Tuesday. Na ukiendelea kututazama na kutusikiza katika kipindi hiki, bila shaka huwa tunakuletea mambo tofauti ambayo yanakusaidia kuweza kuwa na uelewa wa mambo ya kisheria. Katika kipindi hiki tumekuandalia mambo tofauti tofauti. Kwanza kabisa tuko na mchezo wa kuigiza ambao leo unaongea kuhusu haki za watoto, kwa sababu maongeo yetu leo tunaongea kuhusu mambo ya watoto, children rights. Na tunakuuliza swali moja: where do you think most child rights are violated? Unadhani ni wapi ambapo haki za watoto zinakiukwa Kenya, Afrika na dunia nzima kwa jumla? Tuambie kupitia 23814, hiyo nambari yetu ya SMS, na vile vile kupitia nambari yetu ya WhatsApp 0721051105. Where do you think most child rights are violated? Unadhani ni wapi ambapo haki za mtoto zinakiukwa? Nambari yetu ya SMS kusema nami hapa studio 23814, au our WhatsApp number 0721105105. Na baada ya kuletea drama kuhusiana na haki za mtoto kukiukwa, vile vile tutakuwa tukiangalia kuhusu landmark ruling. Leo tunaangalia kuhusiana na a child upkeep case ambayo imefanyika kule Eldoret. Tutakuwa tukiwaletea mengi zaidi kuhusiana na that landmark ruling. Pia mwenzangu Mangito Mola amekuandalia what we call legal terminology. Kuna mambo ambayo unasikia katika koti, some terms mazito mazito. Mangicho anakuelimisha ili uweze kuelewa kuhusu those terminologies. Vile vile tutakuwa tukiangalia maisha ya watu ambao wamebobea katika masuala ya kisheria, what we are calling a legal profile. Na leo basi Mangicho pia atakuwa amekuandalia makala hayo. Kwa hivyo karibu sana katika Legal Tuesday mpenzi mtazamaji, tuweze kupelekana nawe mpaka mwendo wa saa 6. Our SMS number 23814 0721105105. Mangicho Mola, tuko naye ndani ya studio. How are you my brother?
Asante sana mwenzangu bwana Paul Kagi, nashukuru sana.
Yes.
Kwa kuweza kukuona siku ya leo. Indeed, it's another opportunity, another beautiful day for us to be here for the Legal Tuesday, this being our very second show for this particular program. And indeed, I'm also happy to see you, bwana Kagi. And I am hoping that you're having a good Huduma day. Or is it Utamaduni?
It's Utamaduni stroke Huduma. I don't know. Everybody's just confused.
Those who are sharing, and those who are celebrating Huduma, I'm also seeing others are also celebrating Utamaduni Day. I don't know what the law says about this, but because we also have Wakili, maybe we'll shed some light on the same.
Yes.
But indeed, like you've said, we want to welcome our viewer to this particular show. Indeed, as my colleague Kagi has said, we've lined up for you a very captivating program full of a variety of segments that, of course, will enlighten you as far as matters legal are concerned. And of course, we'll also be having a guest. We had him last Tuesday, and of course again today. He will be joining us because we want to find out more about the Children Act, and so that you can also shed some light on this particular factor. Kagi will agree with me that when you talk about children and the children rights and issues to do with the children, this is a very pertinent area. And of course, we know children are an integral part of the society. And of course, I believe even the viewer, even the parent back at home, even other stakeholders will actually benefit from this particular conversation.
Right, and our biggest mission here, dear viewer, is to be able to enlighten you on various legal matters. So keep watching. We are here for you. We also Mangicho building young lawyers from this platform.
That's very true. By the way, this is also an opportunity for you to familiarize yourself with one or two things. I believe when you have a consistent following of this particular program, you'll actually be enlightened and you'll be very conversant with matters to do with law.
Right. At this juncture, then we will come our guest, who is Wilfred Konosi, who is an advocate of High Court and also who is a law lecturer. Karibu sana katika studio za MBCI Radio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Unaendeleaje?
Niko salama.
Haya, Mangicho. Yes, salimia.
Yes, Wakili. Karibu sana. It's good to have you again this particular week. How have you been?
Not bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
Karibu sana again to our Legal Tuesday. And I know last time we introduced you, but I think even before we set the ground and we have that legal drama that Kagi has already told us, but I want to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to our viewers so that he can know you and maybe anything related to you practicing as an advocate. Karibu.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Wilfred Konosi. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya.
All right. Excuse me, our guest, I'm being informed that there's a technical hitch with your microphone, and then therefore we are going to, before we continue with the checking your microphone, I would like even to be able to highlight on some of the things that we are supposed to do here regarding to the rights of a child as his microphone is being rechecked. And today we are talking about the children's rights, and it's good to inform you that United Nations has a very robust formula and method to be able to protect the rights of children. Number one, the UN is working ways to be able to ensure that the UN is protecting every child. Number two, the UN is working with the journalists to ensure that even media is working towards protecting the rights of children. Therefore, as much as you're working on the rights of a child as a citizen, also media is being given guidance by the United Nations on how to protect the rights of the child in the line of their duty. And therefore, Mangicho, we have various areas that we want to check regarding to the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which I think we are going to be able to check as we continue. Number one, the UN has around 54 articles which are set out by the children's rights. Away from our own constitution, the UN has 54 articles which were ratified during the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, what they call the UNCRC. Umoja Mataifa umepiga hatua kubwa sana kuona kwamba mtoto ameweza kulindwa kihaki. Tutakuwa tukiangalia masuala hayo baadaye.
Sure.
Na mwanzo kabisa nadhani kwanza tuulize kama mambo iko sawa ndio tuweze kuendelea. Number one, serikali zote zinatakikana kuhakikisha kwamba haki za mtoto zinalindwa kupitia Umoja Mataifa, kwa sababu tuko na katiba ya Kenya, tuko na katiba ya Tanzania, tuko na katiba ya US, katiba ya UK. Lakini ili kuona kwamba mtoto wote analindwa, Umoja wa Mataifa unahakikisha kwamba kwa jumla haki za mtoto aliye US, aliye Kenya, aliye South Africa, aliye Bama, zote zimelindwa kwa pamoja. Wilfred, karibu tena. Samahani kwa changamoto hiyo.
Asante sana. Yes, as I was saying, my name is Wilfred Konosi. I'm an advocate of the High Court of Kenya. I was admitted to the bar on the 19th of February, 1992. I started my practice in Nairobi with some firms of advocates. I moved to Nakuru in 1993, worked with one firm of advocates. And in 1994, I set up my own practice, and I'm practicing in the name and style of Konosi and Company Advocates. We are currently situated at Trade World Building, first floor, along Kijabe Road off Kenyatta Avenue. In 2011, I was employed by Kisii University as a lecturer, and since then I have been teaching law. From 2014 to 2018, I served as the Dean of School of Law. Yeah. So I have been involved in legal training since 2011.
Asante sana, karibu sana. Before we continue now, because we have known who you are,
yes,
we'll be talking about the child rights in our program. But before then, we have prepared a good drama regarding to the rights of a child. So this time around, we want to welcome a short drama regarding to a child right.
Umesema na hizi zingine? Sawa. Sijui kama niko na change. Sina change, wote nikuletee. Hii, hapo unaenda kuletea customer change.
Mama ako wapi?
Ameendea change.
Mpaka saa hii saa 4 hajarudi. Na umefanya homework?
Hapana.
Hujafanya? Na mtafika kwa nyumba saa ngapi? Kwa hivyo hujakula? Na shule mnaenda saa ngapi asubuhi?
5.
Ngoja. Mama akikuja, mwambie alete pesa ya chama. Sawa.
Nimetafuta change. Ati nimekawia sana. Kwani yako wapi? Ameenda? Amesema aje?
Amesema ati
pesa ya chama. Sawa. Wacha tugoje customer wakuje. Tumalize hizi nyanya. Tunaenda wapi kulala na hizi nyanya? Tugoje tuziishe. Usikulala. Usikii kulala, mimi ndio nakwambia zenye unasikia kulala, usikii kulala, wewe kaka hapo. Sawa? Na hii cabbage. Akuje tuende home.
All right, there we go. Our drama regarding to the rights of child violation. Na wakili, kuna haki nyingi ambazo zinakiukwa, many rights of a child which are being violated, even without going to the high level, on the basics and the fundamentals of a child at home and even the villages and estates. The child's rights are being violated day and night. Which are these basics that people don't understand about the child violations?
First and foremost, we have what we call child labor. I think that is the most prevalent one. We've seen instances where children don't go to school and they are working as housemaids or as house helps, and I think that is where most of their rights are abused. Yeah.
Kwa mfano kuna watu ambao wanatumia watoto kufanya biashara. Unakuta mama amewacha mtoto ametoka shule, anamleta katika sokoni pale, anafanya kazi mpaka saa 3 usiku. Mtoto wa class 3, class 4, class 5. Hiyo ni kusupport familia ama bado unakiuka haki za mtoto?
Hiyo ni kukiuka haki za watoto. Kwa sababu watoto hawatakiwi kufanya biashara. Kwanza hata hizo masaa za kukaa kwa sokoni mpaka saa 3, saa 4 usiku, hizo sasa ni kudhulumu haki za watoto. Yeah.
Na kuna watu wengine ambao wanaajiri, they are called house managers, the maids.
Yes.
Na most of them unakuta ni watoto ambao wako very underage. Ni rare sana upate wale ambao wako 18 and above years. Why we have never had a very robust way of dealing with those who are employing those underage girls? Where is the challenge? Because that is also against the child rights.
We have actually laws in place to deal with those issues. I think the problem is enforcement, the way they are enforced. Say an underage child is working somewhere in some estate. So unless somebody reports or the child is mistreated and reports, many people may not know that that child is, who is underage is working in an estate somewhere. But we have a very robust, robust laws which provide for remedial measures where children's rights are violated. Yeah.
Na sijui mwenzangu Mangicho, katika pitapita zako za mitaani kama umekutana na mambo haya wakati wa kuongea na wakili.
Katika pitapita, actually Kagi, what you've mentioned is very, very true.
Yes.
Because, and in fact, that is what I wanted actually even maybe Wakili to clarify for us, because like you've seen in that particular drama, the mother is very comfortable. Actually, I don't even think she thinks that it is an offense on maybe what she's doing to that particular child in that particular setup. So, Wakili, exactly where do we draw the line? Because what we've seen is common in our estates, in our villages. What exactly are some of the parameters to consider when you're drawing the line that now this is child labor and maybe now this is just a situation whereby a child maybe is just helping the parent in maybe undertaking some of the chores in a family setup or maybe even in a community setup?
You see, the law is very clear on what a child can do. And I can see your dilemma that where is the dividing line? This is acceptable,
Yes.
this is not
Acceptable.
acceptable.
Exactly.
I think most of our parents do not understand where the boundary is. Beyond this is acceptable, and beyond this is not acceptable. One thing we need to understand that a child has some rights. For instance, employing them or taking them to assist in doing business, that is not right. Because even under the Employment Act, children under the age of 13 are not supposed to be employed.
Okay.
Yeah, so even if that child is assisting, it is some form of employment in courts, because actually that child is working.
You're saying 13 or 18?
13.
Or 13.
There are certain instances where a child under the age of, who has attained the age of 13, between 13 and 16, can be employed. Yeah, but the Employment Act is clear on that. The situations when they can be employed. And there are parameters which must be fulfilled before such a child is employed. Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even the time, whether it is maybe during the day or even maybe during the night. There are those maybe who would think, like maybe for example in the drama that we saw,
Yes.
that the aspect of time is what maybe would have brought us now the issue of the child's right being violated. If the mother was with the child and the child helping her during the day in that particular business, that would still be a violation of the child's right?
It depends on how you look at it. I've stated that under the Employment Act, a child can be employed, but the law states that they should not work beyond 6 p.m. And then, when you are employing a child, it should not interfere with that child's right to development and that child's right to education. So those are the two safeguards. Yeah.
Well, those are the two issues that one needs to look into.
Yes.
And now the other thing now is about the what you can actually call maybe the nature, the nature of the job, or the nature of the task that maybe you are giving that particular child. What does the law maybe envisage as far as this is concerned? Because there are those that might actually be seen in a scenario whereby the kind of maybe work that maybe the child has been given is quite a lot for them and becoming so burdensome. Others can actually maybe be seen to be fair.
Again, the Employment Act provides areas where children can be employed. For instance, children are not supposed to work in mines. The Employment Act is very specific that no child should be employed to work in a mine.
Yes.
So the Employment Act again puts parameters on areas where children can be employed between the age of 13 and 16. Yeah.
And before I bring Kagi now, so what about the aspect of the child also maybe getting directly maybe in things now like maybe the transaction of money? How does it maybe affect this particular child and maybe their own right to be able to know at that particular age below 13? And it begins now to handle maybe some amount of money, maybe in the course of maybe the parent allowing her to engage in those business transactions.
That is again really very, very tricky, allowing a child to handle money. Of course, if, say, it is a weekend and your child is helping in your shop, there's nothing wrong with that, so long as it's within those parameters. Yeah, so long as you are adhering to the provisions of the Employment Act. I don't see anything wrong with a child handling money.
Okay.
In fact, sometimes that is how some of the children are trained to learn how to do business from a very early age.
Sure.
But again, you have to balance so that you don't violate their rights, like leaving them to work up to 9, 10 o'clock in the night. Yeah.
So what is one supposed to do when maybe they see a child in a situation like that? Maybe you're a witness, maybe you're a neighbor there, and maybe you've seen, are you supposed maybe to tell the parent that now what you're doing is not right, it's in contravention with the child's right?
You can do two things. You can talk to the parent. If it persists, you can actually report that to the police, and the police can take action. Yeah. It is provided for under the Children's Act, and the Employment Act, actually.
I want to hear your take on this, Wakili.
Yes.
Kuhusiana na a very unique situation ya mtoto ambayo iko katika our villages and our homes. Wakati ambapo wazazi wanapata watoto, wanajaliwa na watoto ama wanazaa watoto wengi tu, but you find some of them wazazi ameshapata watoto, lakini unakuta jukumu la kulea hawa watoto anajua kwa maindi yake huyo mzazi, this elder child ndiye atafanya kazi ya kuwalea. Yes, ana provide everything, but you see most of the responsibilities wanaachia mtoto mkubwa, maybe they are around 7 wako chini. So unakuta mtoto ambaye ako underage, ako class 8, anatoka shule, afike nyumbani, apikie wale watoto wote 7, awashughulikie, awaoshe, awafanyie kila kitu. Mzazi anakuja tu kazi yake ni kulala na kustarehe kwa TV.
Sasa hiyo tena ni kukiuka haki za mtoto, kwa sababu hiyo ni kama kuajiri huyo mtoto kufanya kazi ya kulinda watoto wengine, kuwaosha, kuwafalisha, kuhakikisha kwamba wamekula, chakula kimepikwa, na wewe mzazi umekaa tu starehe, unangojea, unajua kuna mtoto mkubwa hapo ako responsible. Hata nikifika saa 3
watakuwa wameshughulika,
nitakuta watoto wameshughulikiwa, wamekula na wako sawa. Hiyo sasa ni kukiuka haki za watoto.
Mtoto akiona kama amefinyiliwa zaidi na mzazi sana because hizi wanaelimika kidogo, mtoto anatakana kufanya aje? Mtoto mwenyewe anatakana kufanya aje?
Vile nimesema, anaweza piga ripoti kwa polisi ama kwa children's office. Kuna children officers ambao watachukua hatua.
Mtoto labda hana uelewa wa police station, children office, yule mtu ambaye ako karibu naye ni chief. Chief anaweza saidia?
Anaweza ripoti kwa chief, alafu chief amuelekeze kwa children's officer, kwa sababu nafikiria machifu wameelimika, wanajua kuna children's officers wale wanashughulikia mambo ya watoto.
Actually, on that point, yes. It's quite an interesting point because Wakili, some of these children, they find themselves in this particular situation, and also considering the kind of a society that we are in today, quite individualistic, whereby every man or every individual just want to find out and just concentrate on issues that just pertains to them or concerns them, okay? Therefore, you'll find that even if maybe someone was to know or someone was to identify that a particular child or a particular child is being violated in terms of his rights or in terms of their rights, maybe there is very little that most of these people would actually want to do. And this is also a scenario whereby maybe a child feels maybe they are aggrieved, they feel that their rights have been violated, but then they are so much dependent on their parents, and therefore they really feel that maybe they don't have anything to do. What do you think? How do we get ourselves out of this kind of a crisis?
I think we live in a capitalist society. Me for myself, everybody for himself. But ideally, under an ideal situation, when you see such a thing happening, you should report so that we have what we call social responsibility. These kids are our kids. So if I see the rights of a child being violated and I keep quiet, I'm actually guilty of derogating from my social responsibilities. We have had even cases where children are away from home. Kama ile kesi umesema mtoto mkubwa ndiye anashughulikia wengine. Inafika pahali anachoka. Anatoroka. Anakuja kwako anasema mimi nimechoka kukaa nyumbani. Nipatie kazi hapa ya kufanya ile najua nitapata mshahara kidogo ndio niweze kuishi. Na kuna kitu kingine nataka kusukumzia. We have what we call homes headed by children. And what am I talking about here? In this era of HIV/AIDS, you may find a family where the father and the mother have passed away. So that leaves the eldest child with the responsibility of taking care of these siblings. That is one of the other challenges which we face concerning children, where the parents have passed away and those children are left on their own. It is the eldest child who has that responsibility of taking care of these other children, especially again where the relatives don't come in to support those children.
Nilikuwa naangalia one of the laws ziko katika United Nations Convention on the Child. One of them ambayo ilikuwa very interesting ni kupatia mtoto ndo hii. Every child has a right to play, rest and leisure. I want to give my own scenario.
Yes.
No, it is too late, but for the sake of helping.
Yes.
When I was in primary school, in class, I remember all the way mpaka class 5, where I was schooling that time. Ikifika break time, walimu walikuwa wanatumania kwa field. Nitie kagi. Ninaitwa, naenda staff room, natumwa kwa trade center, ilikuwa mbali sana, nikuja na mandazi. Na mimi ni kijana, kwa hiyo mandazi
Mandazi ya walimu.
Mandazi ya mwalimu, najua those days ilikuwa inapikwa na cowboy. So
Sasa uko unacheza?
Hapana, yani where I am now. Sichezi kwa sababu break time ikifika ndio natafutwa.
Ama unacheza ukitembea huko.
So nakwenda kwa trading center, nanunua mandazi ya walimu na kuja nayo. So mimi kazi yangu ni kufyonza nini? Harufu tamu. Now, hiyo ni saa 4.
Yes.
Ikifika break time ya saa, it was 3:45 around there 4. Inaitwa tena. Wakati huo moto ilikuwa ni saizi ni gas, ilikuwa ni mafuta taa. So tena nachukuliwa na walimu, napewa kibuyu 5 liters. Nikatafuta nini? Mafuta taa. Nikishanunua mafuta taa nikita shule naambiwa tena peleka nyumbani. Na nyumbani si karibu. So you unapitia kwa valleys and hills. Upeleka kwa mwalimu mpaka wapi? Nyumbani. Maybe like an hour or something. Sasa ndio huwa nakaa nafikiria. Hapo hawa watu wako wanakiuka haki zao.
Yeah, it's actually true. They were violating your rights. Now, under the Children's Act of 2022, it was passed last year, section 14, the right to leisure, recreation and play.
Haya, hiyo nataka uhold tu hapo kwa sababu time yetu inaenda. Tukirudi, give us more about that right.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the Legal Tuesday. Mpenzi mtazamaji, tuko hapa na advocate of the High Court and law lecturer, Mr. Wilfred Konosi, na mwenzangu Mangicho Mola. We are taking a short break. When we are coming back after a short break, yes, our SMS number is 0721105105. That is WhatsApp. AMA 23814 SMS. Where do you think most children's rights are violated? When I'm coming back with landmark ruling. Don't go too far.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Hi there, my name is George Washuri, CEO Optiven Group, and I'm very excited to introduce Ushindi Gardens Nakuru. This property is developed by Optiven, and we are doing compacted maram roads. We plant the trees, fence the property. What's unique about this property? It's only 1.2 kilometers off the highway and 18 minutes from Nakuru City, the pink city. So please call this number 0790 300 300. Optiven, we have you covered.
Next on Akili Shambani.
Tuko na ndege wa aina tofauti kutoka different countries. Nilianza farming in a rental house wakati nilijipata niko na passion. Nilianza na taki mbili, kulukulu wawili na nikaanza na silk bidi.
Vipi magonjwa ni changamoto ama umeweza jinsi ya kuyadhibiti?
Every time we want to start a business, have a budget. Because our kuku huwezi weka na hujui kesho watakula nini. Usiseme hakuna kazi. Unaweza create kazi na ikue. Kama hii ya ornamental birds. Nilileta tu idea tu nika implement na ikawa ni kazi. Hapa ndio namkanga kila siku.
Corn Gold Premium Cooking Oil, nature's golden secret for delicious meals. Made from 100% pure corn. It's not just any cooking oil, it's the heart of your kitchen. Versatile, health conscious, and bursting with flavor. It's heart healthy, rich in vitamin A and E. It's naturally low in saturated fats and is cholesterol free. Use it for frying, sauteing, roasting, and baking. Corn Gold Premium Cooking Oil is your kitchen's all-star. Get Corn Gold Premium Cooking Oil from any local store near you. Show your heart some love. Corn Gold Premium Cooking Oil. Your health is our concern.
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Right, mpenzi mtazamaji, basi tumo katika sehemu yetu ambao tunaita landmark ruling, yani maamuzi ya mahakama ambao yamefanywa na kidogo inazua joto miongoni mwa watu au labda maswali mengi. Leo tunaangalia kuhusu child upkeep, yani kushughulikia masuala ya mtoto. Na leo tunaangalia kuhusu kesi moja ambayo imefanyika pale Eldoret katika mahakama moja, wakati ambapo mwalimu mmoja wa high school, the principal, aliweza kushtakiwa na a 25 years lady kwa sababu ya watoto wawili. Watoto wao walikuwa ni 5 years na 9 months. Na wakati ambapo amekwenda pale kotini, that 25 years lady ametaka tu the principal to pay for all needs and expenses, yani ashughulikia mahitaji yote ya watoto hao wawili. Mahakama ikafanya the following ruling, maamuzi yafuatayo. Number 1, court granted her full custody of her 2 children aged 5 and 9 years, yaani mahakama ikampatia ile nguvu ya kuweza kukaa na wale watoto. Number 2, a man in question ambaye alikuwa amepelekwa kotini would only be paying for school fees and medical services for the minor. Yaani huyu principal atakuwa akilipa karo pamoja na huduma za matibabu kwa wale watoto. Lakini baada ya uamuzi huo, that woman was not happy. And she stormed the court and she came, and this was her wish. Number 1, alisema a man to pay for food and clothing for the children apart from school fees and give her at least 5,000 monthly for the expenses. Huyu jamaa amlipe, atoe pesa ya chakula, ya nguo kwa watoto, bali na kuweza kulipa school fees, na ampatie shilingi 5,000 za mahitaji yake ya kila siku. Then this woman alisema uamuzi huu sikubaliane nao, ni kwa sababu anasema mahakama imejaa ufisadi. Akaambiwa, kama tulivyosema last week, wakati hujaweza kuridhika na maamuzi ya kesi, uende katika koti ya juu. Akaambiwa afanye appeal au kukata rufaa. Akakataa kwa sababu anasema mahakama imejaa nini? Imejaa ufisadi. But the woman was saying, I already live with the children, so I have accomplished my 50% in terms of food, rent, clothing and medication. Yani amekana watoto sana, chakula, mavazi, kila kitu. Kwa hivyo ameweza kuhitimisha 50% ambao mahakama ilikuwa ikitaka. So, I take care of these responsibilities without this man having to provide. So at this juncture, nataka basi nikuletee video ambayo that woman aliweza kustorm the court na kukataa uamuzi huo.
Mtoto atakulaje chakula nyaje hiyo ni mko hapa. Atakulaje food. Mtoto ataishi na mama mimi niende kazi nirudi na watoto wawili. Niwalishe nifanye kile kitu wanangoja kwa school fees. Ndio school fees yenyewe mtoto hajaanza shule. Which school fees? Mtoto hajaanza shule. Atalipiwa school fees gani? Hii ni nini kweli? Hii ni nini? Nimekataa hiyo judgment mimi. Nimekataa. Watu waenda achukue watoto kama nataka custody atakuja apply custody achukue watoto. Mimi sasa sitaki tena. Sitaki. Kama ni hiyo school fees, hata achukue watoto, mimi nitalipa hiyo school fees basi. Yeye afanye hivi vitu zingine wanasema ati mama atafanya. Sisi we are 50-50. I live with the children, already I have to contribute my 50%. Food. There are 5 things. Food, rent, which is nini, shelter. And there is this clothing. And there is medication. And there is school fees. In which wamenipea mimi everything plus kukata na watoto. Na niende kazi nilete hiyo chakula. Na nyumba mimi sina kwangu. Naishi kwa plot ya wenyewe sina kwetu. How am I going to do this? How? Alafu school fees watoto hawasomi. School fees gani? Mimi school fees gani? Wanasema the matter of God ni in favor of children. Sasa children wenyewe where are they favored? Mtoto miezi 9 atalipiwaje school fees?
Dorcas, you'll take the judgment next week. Read it. If you are not happy with it, you can always make an application.
I will not apply kwa sababu bado watafanya tu corruption. Hii kitu ningepata na niko na lawyer. In which uko na lawyer alafu anakuambia kesi kama hii.
Tunaendelea, you can go talk outside. Watu wengine wako na makesi ya kusikiza.
Hapana. Niko naenda hakuna siendi kuongea, nimeongea hapa yangu imesikika kama kuna mashahidi wameona. Mimi no way. That is not judgment. Never. Sijaiona hata nikisoma kwa internet, hata nikisoma wapi. Hata kwa TV nikiona news, hata nikiona wapi. Sijaiona hii judgment.
Right. That is our landmark ruling today. Mangicho na wakili. Hivyo ndivyo mambo yalivyokuwa. Child upkeep is a very sensitive matter. Sijui wakili atasemaje, lakini kabla wakili uelezee, kuna kitu najiuliza, nadhani pia kule nyumbani wanauliza. Kwa nini mama afunikwe sura? Si aonekane, si kwani anaogopa? Si aonekane, kwa nini anafunikwa sura? Wakili, what is your take on this ruling?
I think the lady has a right to complain, because if you look at Section 31 of the Children's Act, it says that both parents have equal parental responsibility.
Okay.
So, as a magistrate or a judge who is looking at issues of children, you're supposed to balance your ruling to make sure that you give effect to the provisions of Section 31, equal responsibility. You're seeing that lady complaining that I already stay with the children, I pay rent, I feed them. The man has been ordered to pay school fees. The kids are not going to school. There's no school fees to be paid. I think she has a point in her argument.
Yes. Quite a dramatic ruling there, Kagi, and just as Wakili has said. And one thing that's also captured my mind, Wakili, because when we look at a case like this one, on matters child upkeep, like you've rightly put it, the parent, the two parents have equal responsibilities.
Yeah, parental responsibilities.
Parental responsibilities.
Yes.
But now, what happens maybe if on a case or in a situation where maybe one of the parents is the one that maybe is financially able compared maybe to the other one? What does the law envisage in terms of this?
I think the law is very clear. It is equal responsibility. It doesn't matter whether one of you is more able than the other, unless you make a local arrangement. The law requires, the law provides that you can enter into a parental responsibility agreement. Yeah. So if I'm more able than my spouse, then we can get into an agreement where I take more responsibility. But that is by way of agreement. But the law states it should be equal responsibility. Yeah.
And maybe before Kagi, you come in, because the other question that I was also wanted maybe to find out and caught my attention is, so what parameters, what are those issues that maybe the court looks into before now it determines that maybe this is the amount that maybe a particular parent would be required maybe to give or maybe to pay to cater maybe for the needs of this particular child, in terms of maybe education, if it is school fees, in terms of maybe we've seen even situations whereby maybe a particular parent is supposed or maybe is required to pay for entertainment, food, housing, clothing, and so on and so forth. What are some of those issues, so that maybe we can be able to see that, or we can be able now to make a conclusion that this was maybe a fair judgment from the court?
Okay, when the law is talking about equal parental responsibility, it takes into account the following things. Basic nutrition of the child, shelter, water and sanitation facilities, clothing, medical care, including immunization, basic education, and general guidance, social conduct and moral values. So when you are saying you have 50-50 responsibility, you have to take into account all these issues.
Okay.
Yeah. So that you don't violate the rights of the child. So that also you don't burden one party than the other. Yeah.
Are there possibilities of exploitation whereby maybe one particular party would take advantage of the other party and want maybe to exploit them and use this particular judicial process to achieve the same?
Of course, that happens all the time. Let me give you an example. If I was living in a house where I pay rent, suppose I'm a lady, I was living in a house where I pay rent of 10,000. I'll say now I want to move to a house where rent is 20,000, because the man is going to pay half of that rent. To me, that would be some form of exploitation.
Okay.
Because why not continue to live where you've been living, so that if it's equal responsibility, you continue living where you are living. We have also had cases where people make unreasonable demands, like what we call it, entertainment, where a lady says, I need 5,000 every week for entertainment of the child.
Yes.
I think you can consider that also as a form of exploitation. Yeah.
And Kagi, because I know you're following up on that particular landmark ruling, and this lady is actually ranting in court, maybe, how did it go? Was she did she have maybe an opportunity maybe to appeal?
As you could hear, Mangicho, from her wish is that she is not ready to appeal for one reason. She felt there was no fair hearing, what she was calling corruption. And therefore, she said, no, I'm not ready to appeal for this case. But you see, the law requires you, if you are not satisfied with the ruling of this level of court, you move to the next level. Number two, yesterday, the judge herself came out and declared that the ruling was very sound. She followed all the due process when she was making such a ruling. So there's no any other shortcut. She either go for maybe appeal or something. But the most important thing I'm fearing is if the civil societies pick up this matter and themselves use another avenue to be able to fight for her right. All right? But again, before we continue, wakili, I'm concerned about this matter. Kwamba kuna wanaume ambao ni mara mbili, yule ambaye ako na familia lakini anakataa kushughulikia watoto. Ako na mke na watoto lakini anakataa kushughulikia watoto. Kuna wale ambao ni wapili ambaye ako na familia yake lakini anapata watoto huko nje lakini hawataki kuwashughulikia. Sijui uko na ujumbe gani kwa hawa jamaa?
Sheria vile inasema ukipata watoto na mke wako nyumbani na mumeolewa, equal responsibility. Kienda huko nje tena upate mtoto na mpango wako wa kando, equal responsibility. So wanaume, kama tuko na watoto pande hii na pande hii, chunga watoto wako wote.
And maybe Mangicho, kwa our ladies ambao labda hawaelewi vile kunaenda, tunaweza kuwasaidia vipi wakili those ladies ambao labda wanakosa kusaidika na wanaume ambao wanawaignore, hawataki kujukumika? Utawaambiaje hawa ladies now?
Sheria inawakubalia kwenda kotini ya kusema ya kwamba niko na baba mtoto na amekataa kunipatia support, amekataa parental responsibility. Na hapo ndio mahakama inaingilia na inaangalia mahitaji ya huyo mwanamke na watoto, na mahakama inaweza weka ile pesa huyu mwanaume anastahili kulipa ili hiyo pesa ishughulikie mahitaji ya yule mtoto. Yeah.
And maybe wakili, wakati ambapo kesi zinakwenda kotini na koti inaangalia kuhusu jinsi ya kuweza kugawa majukumu, ni vigezo gani ambavyo mahakama inauliza? What principles do they consider when they are sharing the responsibilities, the house rent, or maybe the food, medical expenses, blah blah blah?
The first thing, of course, is to consider the financial ability of the husband or the man.
Yes.
Let me put it that way. For instance, if I'm earning 60,000, yeah, and the court says, I want you to pay 30,000 for maintenance of mpango wako wa kando. See, that will be above what you can be able to spare for mpango wako wa kando. So the court looks at balancing the responsibilities of the man, so that you don't provide too much for this side and too little for this other side.
Jamaa ameajiriwa kazi, ako na mshahara, amekataa kulipa hizo pesa. Kunafanyikana namna gani?
Kuna ile kitu inaitwa execution.
Yes.
Koti inaweza toa order mshahara wako ukatwe. Na upatiwe ule mama.
Mangicho, hapo ni hatari sana.
Hapo ni hatari sana. I believe quite a number of people will actually find themselves being cornered by this particular law. But then I think that I don't know where the loophole is, because I think there are so many people who are affected. But wakili, could there be any other extraordinary reason why they don't want maybe to take an action? Especially maybe for the ladies, because in this particular case, they find themselves to be the vulnerable, okay? They are the victims when it comes to this, because they are the ones who had the children, and maybe the man that the man that they had the children with is nowhere to be seen. But you still find them maybe just right back at their parents' homes, and without necessarily maybe knowing what is it that they are supposed to take. What is the process like?
The problem number one, I think, is ignorance. Some of these ladies may not be knowing that they can actually get child support from the father of the child. So they decide to just go back to their parents' home to burden them, if I would say, and leave the man enjoying himself out there. So number one, if there is a lady who is having that kind of a problem, let her seek legal advice. it becomes tricky where you don't know where the money is. That is a different story altogether. But if you know where the money is, you know he's able to provide, you can go to court, and the court will order child support from the father of the child.
What about in a scenario, and I also know this one maybe affects quite a number of people, is a case involving students. They're both maybe in colleges, maybe in high school, and the guy, if we could call him, the guy who impregnated the girl,
yes,
definitely doesn't have a job. What can the girl do in such a situation?
Those are what we call very exceptional cases, because even if you went to court, this is a young boy who's in school, he's not even able to provide for himself. You may not get much support from him.
So the boy is let scot-free?
Maybe up to the age where he is able to provide. He can't go scot-free. Say, yeah, say the boy is 18 or 20.
Yes.
Maybe at 25, he is able to provide. He has a job. So the lady can still follow for child support, because parental responsibility continues up to the time when the child is 18. And under certain circumstances, it can be extended to the age of 23. So the girl may suffer for the few days when the boy is not employed, but immediately he gets employed, she can still follow to get that child support. So it's not an excuse that I'm in school, so I'll go scot-free.
So it's up to the girl to keep track of the boy?
Exactly. Because that boy is the father of this child, and he has parental responsibility up to the age of 18, wherever he is. Yeah.
And when it comes now to parental responsibility, maybe the other thing that Wakili you can also shed some light on before Kagi also comes in, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can only take that particular responsibility when maybe the woman is you're legally married, you're legally wedded, or maybe you're a wife in this particular case. You can, even if maybe you are not married, but you fathered that particular child, you are supposed to take care of it.
Yes, that is the law. So long as you are the father of the child, it doesn't matter whether you're married or not. We have had cases where wanasemaje kwa Kiswahili, mtu ya kuruka story, kuruka mimba. So what happens? The court orders a DNA test to be done, and once the tests prove that you are the father of that child, then you are under a duty to provide up to the age of 18. Yeah.
Kagi.
Yeah, thank you Wakili. As we finalize, nimefikiria kuhusiana na pia tumeangalia pia wanaume sana. Pia kuna some ladies ambao wanakataa kujukumika katika masuala ya kushughulikia watoto. Sijui katika kazi yako ushaipata kesi ambapo mwanaume amekuja kotini kushtaki mwanamke kwa sababu alikiuka kushughulikia watoto?
Yeah, very, very, very interesting. Actually, I've never come across a case where a man has come to court to seek child support from a lady. But the law provides for such a scenario. If, as a man, I am not able to provide for the children, and the mother of that child is more able than myself, and say, for instance, that I'm living with this child, I can go to court and tell the court, look, I am not able to take care of this child alone. I need the mother to also play a parental responsibility so that we share the parental responsibility on a 50-50 basis.
Yeah, kuna hii scenario away from mambo ya pesa labda kitu kama hiyo, lakini kuna this common scenario wakati ambapo a woman anaacha watoto pop, mtoto ako 3 months, ako 6 months, ako 1 year, 2 years, anapotea wawili, anaachia mzee, anaenda kabisa. Is that lawful?
Of course it's not. Of course it's not. And those are some of the challenges which we face now. We have children who are in children's homes. There are some ladies, wajui baba ya mtoto ni nani, anachoka, anafunga mtoto vizuri, anamwacha kwa njia, mtoto anapatikana ndio hao tunapata wako kwa children homes. Na pia kuna wale vile umesema mama anawachia baba watoto na anatoroka kabisa.
Yes.
So it becomes the responsibility of the father to actually take care of those children alone in the absence of the lady who has disappeared.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that point is actually very important, Kagi. I know you want to maybe the director wants us to get into the legal terminology, but Wakili, where exactly do we have the gaps when it comes maybe to the issue of child abandonment? Because now this child has been abandoned. Like you've said, some of them are actually finding themselves in children's homes. We have thousands in our streets. Is it an issue whereby it is quite difficult maybe to follow up and get maybe this particular parents?
I'll give you two scenarios. Number one, where the child is very small, very young, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, and that kid has been abandoned, it becomes very difficult to trace the parents. But when it comes to these big children, we call them big children, the ones in the streets, those ones actually you can be able sometimes to trace their parents. And if they are traceable, then they are guilty of abandoning those children. They are guilty of violating those children's rights. But of course, depending on the circumstances of each case. A parent will tell you, huyu mtoto alipotea, I don't know where he went to. Yeah. So it will depend from a case on a case-to-case basis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Mpenzi mtazamaji, time kama hii huwa tunakuletea kitu kinaitwa legal terminology. Ni mahali ambapo tunakuletea a term kutoka kotini ambao umesikia na ungetaka kujua maana yake. Baada ya hii pia tunaingia kule mitaani. Job Sereti atakuwa pale akiuliza maswali kuhusiana na robbery with violence. Tunajua kwamba watoto pia wanatumika katika mambo ya wizi wa kimabavu. Mtu ako na pesa, anapatia watoto labda silaha, aende akaibe, mambo kama hayo. Na sometimes wanatumia nguvu. So today tutakuwa mitaani, Job Sereti atakuwa akiuliza watu kuhusu wao wanafikiria vipi mtu ahukumiwe kifungo cha muda gani kwa sababu ya wizi wa kimabavu. But before then we come there, legal terminology.
And of course, our legal terminology is right there on the screen. And our term for today in the legal terminology is the term injunction. Injunction, which means a judicial process or order requiring the person or persons to whom it is directed to do a particular act or to refrain from doing a particular act. That is what we mean when you talk about an injunction. It means a judicial process or order requiring the person or persons to whom it is directed to do a particular act or maybe to refrain from doing a particular act. That is what we mean when you talk about an injunction. And of course, this is a term that is very common in the judicial or maybe in our courts. Wakili, maybe if you can just contribute on it, maybe maybe an example or two when an injunction can actually be granted or be executed for that matter.
Yeah, injunctions are a common, is a daily, almost a daily occurrence in courts. So where you think that your rights have been violated in one way or another, and you want the court to assist you, you want the court to issue an order to stop that other person from continuing from violating those rights, then you apply for an injunction. Let me give you an example. If I own a piece of land, say, in Nairobi, and one day you find that somebody has encroached and he wants to start building. So you can go to court and say, look, come on, look, this is my land, this is my title deed. This person is encroaching into this land. He has no right to be on this land. Please, give me an injunction to stop this person from encroaching into my parcel of land, as we litigate over any issue which he may be having over the land. We have also had cases where people are fighting over burial rights. A man has 2 wives, and each of them is claiming the right to bury the late husband. So we have had instances where one of the wives goes to court and says, no, I am the one who has a right to bury this man.
Yes.
So give me an injunction to stop the other lady from burying the man. And the courts have, of course, granted injunctions pending the hearing and determination of the dispute.
And I'm just wondering, is there a limit? Is there a limit of the time that an injunction maybe can actually be, or can actually go? For example, can we have injunctions going even maybe beyond 5 months, up to 1 year?
Okay. Well, injunctions are, when we talk about injunctions, it's a very long topic, but under the Civil Procedure Act, number one, if a matter is urgent, you can go to court ex parte without serving the other party. And if you satisfy the conditions which are laid down, the court will give you an ex parte injunction. Then, if you are given an ex parte injunction, you are supposed to serve that order within 3 days. Otherwise, it lapses. And then, if your application for injunction is heard and it is granted pending the hearing of the main disputes, then the civil procedure says that injunction lasts for 1 year. Unless it is extended, it lapses. So you cannot have an injunction for an indefinite period. Yeah.
Can a child also apply for an injunction in a court?
Yes, because a child can be a party to a suit. Yeah, they can.
Nice one, Kagi.
All right, with that we come to the end of the legal terminologies. Right now we want to join our colleague Job Sereti, who is asking this question. If someone is found maybe done the robbery with violence, what do you think his sentence? 10, 20 years or life sentence? Job Sereti, uwanja ni wako, my friend.
Naam, shukrani sana Bwana Kagi, na wapata vizuri kutoka studioni, na leo niko hapa mitaani ili angalau kuchukua maoni ya Wakenya kuhusu uelewa wao kuhusu sheria, na siku ya leo tukienda kuangazia swala kwamba iwapo mtu kapatikana na kosa la wizi wa kimabavu, Wakenya wanahisi huyu mtu achukuliwe hatua za kisheria za kiwango gani? Karibu ni wapashe mengi kutoka hapa kwenye mitaa.
Kulingana na mimi, kulingana na huyo mtu mwenye alikuwa amekuja kunipokonya kulingana na kimabavu, mimi naweza sema kama mwananchi wa kawaida, hao watu wametuhangaisha, wanaweza kuwa na kuja kukuhangaisha katika maisha yako yote. So kulingana na mimi, naweza omba tu mimi aniache uhuru nikitembea nchini, na yeye awekwe ndani, tukutane mbinguni.
Tunataka kujua kifungo chake chenye ungependekeza. Kuna watu wanaingia ndani wanafungwa miezi 2, miezi 3. Huyu mtu amekufanyia wizi wa kimabavu, kifungo chake kiwe kiwango gani?
Not less than 20 years.
Ya, kwa upande wako ungehisi huyu mtu ambaye amejaribu kufanya wizi wa kimabavu achukuliwe hatua gani, ama kifungo chake kiwe kiwango gani?
Wacha afungo tu 20 years iko sawa.
Number one, the law should take its course. But for my opinion is that as wadogo, maybe the church can also intervene so that to find the root cause why these people are doing these minor offenses. Perhaps mtu ana kazi, mtu anapitia mambo mengi, stress, so that's why mtu ana opt achukue kitu ya rahisi, aenda auze shilingi 200, 500, 1000, so that mtu anaweza sustain. But kama ingekuwa mzuri, people should find the root cause why this person are committing these offenses, so that if you find the root cause, then you can be able to put measures, or you can be able to advise people on why they should not be involved in these minor offenses.
Tunataka kujua maoni yako. Mtu amepatikana na kosa la wizi wa kimabavu, wewe kwa upande wako ungetaka huyu mtu achukuliwe kifungo cha kiwango gani?
Kulingana na maoni yangu, najua siwezi hukumu mtu. First of all, mimi si the judge. So ni koti na sheria itamua. Najua siwezi sema mtu afungwe miaka 10 ama miaka lifetime. na sina hiyo uwezo, so ni koti na sheria iko Kenya hii, so ni sheria iamue kifungu na miaka ambayo mtu ataenda kutumikia. Yeah.
So I don't think naweza nikasema ahukumiwe, apewe hukumu kali ama si kali kwa sababu ameniibia, kwa sababu mimi kulingana na mimi ni mwanadamu na amefanya cha kiunadamu, na katika kanality yake hapa duniani it demands such. Kwa hivyo mimi kulingana na mimi katika Ukristo siwezi nikasema ahukumiwe, naweza kumsamehe kwa sababu hapa duniani tuko kwa muda tuende. Lakini kwa upande mwingine pia naweza kusema kila mahali kuna kuwaga na sheria. Tangu katika maandiko, tangu Israeli na wapi, tangu nyakati za jadi kumekuwa na sheria, kumekuwa na katiba za kila eneo na kila nchi na kila eneo na kila hata chama. Na kwa hivyo naweza sema kwa sababu ni Mkenya na amefanya jambo la kihuni katika nchi yake ya Kenya, na Kenya iko na sheria na katiba yake, naweza sema tu sheria nayo ichukue mkondo wake, ahukumiwe kulingana na katiba ya nchi, kulingana na sheria inasema nini kuhusu mwizi, inasema nini kuhusu muuaji, inasema nini kuhusu mbakaji. Kwa hivyo ahukumiwe kulingana na sheria ya nchi.
Ya, ni hayo tu kutoka kwenye mitaa ya hapa jijini. Nimekuwa nikikufahamisha kuhusu uelewa wa watu kuhusu sheria ya mtu aliyefanya wezi wa kimabavu, na kwa sasa narejesha kwako studio.
That is our colleague and also reporter Job Sereti doing some good work there in the streets and also getting some of the opinions and some of the feedback from Kenyans on what maybe they think should be the penalty for the offense of robbery and violence. And Kagi and our guest Wakili, you've had Kenyans there. Some of them are saying these people who are culpable or the perpetrators of this particular heinous crime, they should be handed 20 years in jail.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, Wakili, what your take on what people are saying? What is the basics regarding to robbery with violence according to the law?
Number one, robbery with violence is provided for under the Penal Code, Section 296(2). And the current penalty for robbery with violence is death sentence. And we've seen people saying it should be 20 years, others saying we can't comment. But my personal view is that we should abolish the death penalty. Yeah, and I think worldwide there is a move towards the abolition of death sentence. And again, each case should be looked with its particular circumstances. Consider each case and the circumstances under which such an offense was committed. That will guide you on what kind of sentence to give out on the perpetrator. So the court should be given discretion. Yeah?
Yeah. Na kuna mtu ambao Mangicho ambaye ako na pesa, ako na mali, lakini hataki kuonekana akifanya robbery with violence. Anafikiria kutumia watoto. Umeona sasa? So anapeana silaha kwa watoto waende wakafanye wizi, alafu yeye ndiye aweze kufaidika. Mtoto kama wakipatikana, Wakili, labda watu wawili wapatikane, nani ambaye atashtakiwa? Mtoto amepatikana amegonga mtu, maybe amemuumiza vibaya, amemuibia simu, vitu kama hizo, ama handbag yake, na alikuwa na kisu ama alikuwa na bastola, amekamatwa na polisi. Alafu akafichua yule ambaye aliyemfadhili ni huyu. Nani ambaye anashtakiwa?
Wote watashtakiwa.
Watu wawili.
Yeah, watu wawili watashtakiwa. Yeah. Kwa sababu wote wametenda makosa. Yeah.
And is a form of the charges the same in terms of the one who is above 18, and maybe if we can actually call them the minor in this particular case, in this particular context?
No, it's the same. The only thing which we have is that a child under the age of 12, according to the Act, is not criminally responsible.
Under the age of 12?
Yes.
So above 12, they are criminally responsible?
Yes, you can be charged. So what we are saying is if a child is, say, 10 years and commits an offense, they cannot be charged. Yeah, because the law provides that they are not criminally responsible. But after 12, if you're 12 and above, then you are criminally responsible. You can be charged with the offense. Yeah.
So they'll be taken to the same courts, like these other perpetrators?
We have what we call the children's court,
Yes.
which deals with children matters. But when it comes to robbery to violence, of course, it will be tried in the normal courts.
Okay.
But of course, taking the safeguards which are provided for under Part 15 of the Children's Act, when we are dealing with children in conflict with the law. We have guidelines there which guide courts how to deal with these children, where they should be put in custody, and all that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, and I remember Okili was supposed also to talk about the rights when you're talking about maybe things like leisure and things like entertainment.
Yes. Section 14. Section 14 of the Children's Act provides that over and above the right to education, every child is entitled to leisure, play, and participation in non-harmful cultural, artistic activities. And it is the responsibility of the government and every parent or guardian to permit or facilitate the enjoyment of his or her child's right to leisure, play, and public recreation facility. And on that note, I wish to state that there are actually several rights which are provided for under the Act, like for instance, the right to parental care, right to social security, right to religious education, right to health care, right to inheritance, protection from child labor, protection from armed conflicts. Another interesting one, rights of intersex children. We have the right to protection from abuse, right to protection from harmful cultural practices, like FGM, the right to protection from drugs and substance, rights, freedom from torture. They also have a right to assemble, petition, and participate in public life. So you can see they have a wide array of rights, which actually mirror what we were talking about last week, the fundamental rights and the freedoms in the Constitution. You can see some of the ones which are provided for here. We discussed them last time. They're provided for under the Bill of Rights.
Exactly. And maybe, Kagi, a very interesting point, and of course I know this is also a debate that maybe we've been having, but I know maybe Wakili, there is a way in which maybe the law has put it clear. When it comes to children's rights versus is it discipline or punishment, in this particular case, corporal punishment? What is the position of the law?
Of course, the law has outlawed corporal punishment. Some of us, when we were growing up.
And how do you actually even define it?
That was the order of the day. You make a mistake, yes. There are 6 canes waiting for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're saying that today, if you are to give your child 6 canes,
that is against.
You can be held.
Yes, that is against the law. That is a corporal punishment. It is outlawed. In fact, there has been a debate whether we should introduce corporal punishment, especially the caning. And again, remember it's even provided in the Bible. I think in Proverbs, spare the rod,
spare the child.
So I think that is a debate which should be carried on in light of the emergence of the rights of the child. I don't know what the people might think is appropriate, because sometimes if it's introduced, it may again be abused. You've seen instances where actually children have died from corporal punishment.
Yeah. So actually, that one now borders on what maybe we can actually call is it the physical abuse and maybe the torture, and you find that maybe a parent, maybe in the process of maybe punishing or maybe instilling discipline on the child, they've gone out of control, and the child maybe has now has suffered some harm from that kind of a process.
And death. Maybe that explains why the corporal punishment was outlawed, because you can see it can lead to harm, it can lead to death. Yeah.
And the other thing that is also maybe affecting so many, and maybe this is also an emerging issue or phenomenon for this particular matter, Wakili, how do you look at maybe what we call a child's right in relation maybe to what we can actually call online abuse?
That is a very prevalent area right away now, especially with now the wide use of internet.
Sure.
But the Children's Act provides that the children should be protected from cyberbullying, cyber pornography, sexual trafficking, production of sexual videos. So those acts have been prohibited under the Constitution, under the Children's Act. So if you are found, for instance, that you have lured a child through the internet, which has led to sexual trafficking or the making of sexual videos, that is an offense, and you can be punished under the Act. And again, it is the responsibility of the parents to regulate the use of internet for their children. Don't allow free access of internet to children as a way of protecting them against the commission of these crimes. Yeah.
I think, Wakili, as we continue at this juncture, we are supposed to do what we call the inside the law. And I have heard your presentation, and I want to present a small bit from the United Nations. It's as if our constitution, the chapter on children's rights, is heavily borrowed from the UN Charter on Children. I want to make a small presentation of what the UN says about the right of children, and then you are going to give your sentiment. You can pick one or two areas whereby we can be able to check. And one of the areas that we need to check today is regarding the United Nations Convention on the Rights of a Child, that is UNCRC. Ukienda katika Umoja wa Mataifa, una sheria ambazo zinasaidia haki za mtoto, ninataka tuangalie leo. Na katika Umoja wa Mataifa uko na sehemu 54, 54 articles which are set out children's rights and how governments should work together to make them available to all children. Umoja wa Mataifa unahakikisha kwamba kila serikali inashughulikia haki za watoto, kwa sababu sasa hivi tumeona kuna nchi nyingi ambazo kuna vita. Kama sasa hivi tunajua kuna vita kati ya Israel na Palestina, Hamas, na haki za watoto zinakiukwa sana. Kwa hivyo wale ambao wanaweza kulinda haki hizo ni Umoja wa Mataifa. Number 1, government are required to meet children basic needs and help them reach their full potential. Lazima haki za kimsingi za watoto ziweze kushughulikiwa na kila serikali. Number 1 is that there are various clauses. Every child has basic fundamental rights which include, number 1, life, survival and development. That is number 1. Number 2, protection from violence, abuse or neglect. As now tunajua kwamba kuna nchi nyingi ambazo kuna vita, hata huko Ukraine, Congo. Lazima kila serikali hakikisha kwamba imelinda watoto dhidi ya any form of violence. The other one, an education that enables children to fulfill their potential. There are some countries in this world whereby the girl education is prohibited. And therefore, hapa ndio UN inakuja kuona kwamba kila mtoto katika hii dunia ana haki ya kuweza kupata elimu. Number 2, be raised by or have a relationship with their parents. UN inatoa sheria kwamba lazima kila mtoto alelewe na wazazi wote, aidha wawili ama mmoja. The other one is, ambao pia wakili amezungumza, every child has a right to express their opinion and be listened to. Lazima upatie mtoto nafasi ajieleze, umsikize. Otherwise, ukifanya kila kitu kwa kifua, kuna sheria ambazo zinamsaidia. The other one, which is very interesting, children under the age of 18 are not forcibly recruited in the army. Mtoto ambaye ako chini ya miaka 18 usiweze kumuingiza katika jeshi, na hapa ndio unasikia the Hague Court inakujia. Many people are in Hague, akina Kony, Joseph Kony kule DRC, kwa sababu wamechukua watoto ambao wako under 18 years, wamewarecruit kuwa wanajeshi wakapigane kama militia. It is very illegal under the UN children laws. The other one, the state prohibits child prostitution. Kuingiza watoto katika biashara ya ngono ni hatia, na vile vile child pornography. Unachukua mtoto unamwambia afanye sinema za kingono, UN imepiga marufuku. Kimalizia, the state prohibits sale of children in slavery. Mimi sijui kama wakili utatuambia baadaye kama bado slavery bado iko, lakini UN imepiga marufuku mtu yote ambaye anachukua watoto anawauza kama nini? Mangicho, slavery ni nini kwa Kiswahili? Ni slavery.
Ni utumwa.
Oh, ni mtumwa. Asanti. And then government to ensure children are protected in times of war. Hapa ndio tuko sasa. Because in many countries we have law, and then lazima watoto waweze kulindwa kutokana na vita. Finally, ambao tumezungumzia sana, every child has a right to play, rest and leisure. Naona nimalizia hapo. Before we continue, wakili, kama my director wako sawa, we can do the profile, and then tukirudi we'll be doing more on this.
Yeah, and of course on our legal profile for today, we are focusing on Willie Mutunga. You can remember him, the Chief Justice, former Chief Justice of Kenya. And 1946, that is 16th June 1946, Willie Mutunga was born in Kitui County. Then in 1971, he got a Bachelor's of Law degree from the University of Dar es Salaam. And then again in 1974, he got Master of Law degree from the University of Dar es Salaam. In the 1980s, he got his Doctorate of Laws from York University, that is Toronto, Canada. In the year 2011, former Chief Justice Willie Mutunga, he was appointed the Chief Justice of Kenya. That is just soon after the promulgation of the 2010 Constitution. And then, of course, on 16th of June 2016, he retired as the Chief Justice. That is in 2016, just before the 2017 general election. That is the legal profile for today, focusing on Willie Mutunga. I know, Kagi, you remember him so much.
Yeah, he was a very robust and principled Chief Justice.
Yes, and actually, I think in some of these circles, he's also being regarded as an activist. Yeah, very, very, maybe we can actually say very combative in terms of maybe moving and safeguarding what he believes maybe are the issues that are very important in terms of maybe the rights. Yes.
Na Willie Mutunga hajawahi kuaibika kuelezea mawazo yake, speaking his mind.
Yeah, yeah.
Na I think he is one of the most respected legal minds in this land. Ama namna gani, wakili?
Yeah, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember he was among the people who were involved in the what we call the second liberation struggles.
Fighting for multi-party.
Yes, fighting for multi-party. He was detained several times.
Yes.
The most interesting I remember was recently when we had Maandamano, and people who were picketing had been arrested and taken to Central Police Station. He actually did shopping, took it to Central Police Station. He bought mattresses. And then, as they were coming there, they were tear gassed by the police. I don't know whether you remember that.
Yes, I remember.
So his activist mind is still with him. He does what he thinks are his rights.
And Wakili, maybe during that particular period, that is 2011 to 2016, as the Chief Justice, a former Chief Justice.
Yes.
How do you remember him for how maybe he served during that particular era?
Well, he actually transformed the judiciary. The expansion, the gains which we're having were actually brought by Willie Mutunga. The funding was so low when he came in. The morale was so low. He worked out, increased the funding to the judiciary, and we have seen its increase. He transformed it by ensuring that there is access of justice to the people, and you've seen the way courts now are being developed to bring justice closer to the people. I think the focus is that we should have at least a high court or a high court within every county, and magistrate courts within every sub-county, so that you don't have to have people traveling a very long distance to access justice, to attend courts. So he really played a very fundamental role in transforming the judiciary, even in improving the conditions and terms of service of judicial officers.
Labda because time yetu nao inaenda kumalizika, wakili, umekuwa katika idara hii kwa muda mrefu na tumekuwa na many chief justices.
Yes.
Sijui mbali na Mutunga kama kuna wengine ambao umewahi kuwatamani katika kazi yao ikakupendeza hapa nchini.
Of course, the immediate former Chief Justice, David Maraga. Yeah, I think he also did his part. He was very firm. You remember, he was the one who led the team which nullified the 2017 presidential elections.
Yes.
That was a very bold move. You know, elections are a very emotive issues in Kenya, and I think he took a bold move, or the entire Supreme Court took a bold move in nullifying those elections, of course, under his leadership. He also followed up on the gains brought by Mutunga and continued expanding the infrastructure of the courthouses within the Republic.
All right.
Yeah.
Tuko na dakika kidogo Mangicho. We need to wind up about the rights of children. Maybe back to wakili, isn't it? We have discussed so much about the children rights. Tumezungumza mengi sana. Maybe as we continue winding up, utasemaji kuhusu wale ambao wanakiuka haki za watoto? What warning would you give them according to what law says?
I know we have very little time. Let me begin by saying like this. We have the CRC, the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child.
Yes.
We also have what we call the African Charter on the welfare and rights of the child. Then we have our Constitution, and then we have now the Children's Act. The
Before we continue, Children Act is by own standing.
Yes, it's an act of parliament. It's an act of parliament.
Yes.
Yeah. So the CRC and the African Charter on the Welfare and Rights of the Child have been ratified by Kenya. So they actually are part of our laws by dint of the provisions of Section 2 of the Constitution.
Yes.
The rights of the child have also been provided for under Article 53 of the Constitution. And then from Article 53 of the Constitution, we have the Children's Act. And you can see how the rights of the children have been seriously safeguarded. So as responsible children, citizens, we should take the rights of the child very, very seriously. Because children are our future. Yeah? So we need to respect those rights, protect them, nurture them, because they are the future leaders of this country.
Correct.
I know you're pressed for time. I think the conversation was quite involving. I forgot to read some of the comments, but maybe if I could just pick one. I was saying, quite not clear, but let me just see how it says. We was the legal wife, was dumped and Mpango lives in our matrimonial home. The man doesn't provide anything to the children. I tried to go to the children's home. He bribes them, and nothing is done to him from class 3 today, unable to take the 3 children to secondary and college, and today, please help me. Also, how will these children get any inconveniences from their father? Yes, they were born inside marriage. Before I was chased away, but today the man is able, but he sells the properties we bought together and buys newly writing. mpango wa kando's names and all assets.
Right, Mangicho, that one we can push to the next program. We want to thank you kwa sababu ya kuwa nasi katika kipindi cha siku ya leo. Mimi naitwa Paul Kagi, imekuwa ni Legal Tuesday, nimekuwa na mwenzangu hapa.
Mangicho Mola, thank you so much for making time to
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Kipara kwa kizungu ni?
Kipara. Sini kama airport hivi. Hey, kipara. What is kipara? Labda hiyo ni noma. Wa?
Abraham alikuwa na watoto wangapi?
62.
Hebu nitajie watatu.
Moses, Esther, Ruth.
Kinyume ya bachelor?
Bacheloress. Bacheloress.
Yeseremuka kama mwindo, anasema leta sindo. Yeseremuka leta mwindo.
Your day will be full of inspiration.
Yes, as you watch and listen to good music, you will experience an amazing transformation.
Ndani ya Raushwa utafahamishwa, uelimishwe, utumbuizwe.
And during class time, utuzwe.
Ungana nami Rachel Kahugu.
Nami Wilson Kamete kila siku ya Jumatatu hadi Ijumaa saa 1:35 hadi saa 4 asubuhi.
Exactly.